Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Michael Mwansaliova. I would like you to present taxation, and this particular presentation is about rights of a taxpayer. To cover this particular presentation, I'm going to look at a number of items. 1. Right to information, right of consistent application of legal provisions, rights to security of taxpayers, right to fair and equal position of taxpayers, right of appeal, and right of data confidentiality and privacy. So this will be the content of this presentation. To start with, let's look at what this taxation and relating to tax rights is going to be about. First of all, we need to understand where we're coming from in terms of the background. This is in relation to formulation of policy. In formulating policy, a number of factors need to be considered relating to taxation as it affects the taxpayer. Following items need to be taken on board. 1. The taxpayer rights in order to develop a sound system supported by Zambian citizens. Secondly, the very center of all tax policy is the taxpayer, and that is very important to understand. Thirdly, a unique public and legal connection of a fiscal type is created as a result of regulation of the interaction between the state, who plays an active role in taxation, and taxpayer, who plays a passive role. We start looking at the first right to information. Adherence to tax rules necessitates the taxpayers are informed on how tax systems operate, how tax obligations are determined, and when and where taxes are due. Secondly, the tax administration has a duty to inform taxpayers of their rights and to offer suitable technical support throughout the taxation procedure or taxing procedure. Thirdly, by providing suitable opinions and information, explaining things verbally and over the phone, and providing information guides, this right is realized. Furthermore, taxpayers have the right to information, which entitles them to timely and convenient information about changes to tax laws or how to exercise their rights. Finally, we can say that additionally, this indicates that a taxpayer has a right to be heard and receive the support they require from the appropriate tax authority. That was the first right. The second right relates to right of consistent application of legal provisions. Under this right, the following can be said. 1. According to legal requirements that govern this privilege in practice for the taxpayer is not required to pay a tax amount that is more than what is required by law. This entitlement covers the ZRI aid. In this case, ZRI is the Revenue Authority, which oversees the revenue matters in the Republic of Zambia. This entitlement, as I've said, covers ZRI's aid in the payment of a tax obligation as well as in the approval of a legally recognized tax reliefs, deductions, and reimbursement of surplus payments. These rights are available to taxpayers under our legal system. Third right, the taxpayer's right to security permits or pertains to legal amendments and their interpretation, neither of which may be applied retroactively. That is very important to note. The Republic's Constitution governs this as well. Let's move on to the next right. The right to fair and equal position of taxpayers. Taxpayers should be treated fairly under all circumstances. Zambian tax laws, particularly how they are applied, differ from most of those of the industrialized nations where it comes to the realization of this entitlement. First and foremost, it is the outcome of the penalty policy, but there are also certain incorporated components regarding the position of different taxpayers. The right to fair and equal position can also be looked at in this regard. There are certain problems with how penalties are applied in Zambia. For instance, it is inappropriate to treat taxpayers different for the same type of offense. Furthermore, the monthly penalty for submitting a tax return late is 1,000 penalty units worth 300 kwacha or part thereof for individuals, and 2,000 penalty units worth 600 kwacha or part thereof for businesses. With this kind of penalty structure, it is guaranteed that two taxpayers who commit the same offense will receive different treatment. Next, the right to fair and equal position of taxpayers still continues to look at another point. In this particular regard, we look at the right of taxpayers to challenge tax authorities' decisions as well as those of the Revenue Appeal Tribunal and High Court is part of their protection. Right of data confidentiality and privacy. A taxpayer's right to data privacy and confidentiality serves as protection from any abuses by tax administration. You need to know that it essentially means that no information that is significant to a taxpayer may be used for anything other than taxation. However, in the majority of nations, this data can be utilized with specific protection and for social objectives, or they can be sent to foreign tax authority in accordance with accords that foresee such an exchange. We have the right of data confidentiality, still looking at the following items. 1. In most countries, tax authorities who are legally permitted to use them can access taxpayers' financial information, which is also protected by law and kept confidential. This essentially means that tax information is accessible to the state authorities for their needs while also protected from individual misuse, which carries severe consequences. Furthermore, we can say that the use of stringent regulation in connection with taxing authorities' illegal access to taxpayers' office is implied by the right to privacy. Regarding this privilege, there are substantial variations between nations, ranging from prescribed fee access with the taxpayer's express authorization only to warrant if there is any suspicion of a tax evasion. Given the significant relationship between the tax administration and taxpayers, efforts are being made to strengthen it, which leads to higher tax collections and fewer tax offenses. It is challenging to find solutions that would balance the interests of the state and the interests of the taxpayer, because the same system and the same measures will always be interpreted differently by active and passive tax subjects. This is true even though it is true that no system or policy cannot be made even better. So those are some of the rights of the taxpayer, and we come to the end of this presentation. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like it. We will going to meet next time for another presentation. Thank you for listening.